Mathematics typically begins with a standard, fundamental assumption. The empty set serves as the formal representation of absolute nothingness. This assumption fails to hold in the personas of arithmetic. This onto-theological framework suggests our definition of nothingness actually contains a hidden fracture. Axiom 0 presents this fracture immediately. The empty set captures the void. The empty set is not the void. A paradox remains. To capture implies identity, yet the framework insists on a strict separation between concept and reality. To resolve this, we have to treat the empty set as a syntactic map. It is a symbol created by the mind to navigate the unconditioned territory of the void. Our understanding of infinity depends entirely on maintaining the distinction between the symbol and the expanse it represents. In formal logic, the empty set functions as a conceptual ground. It's a tool for building positional number systems and establishing a baseline for computation. While visualized as a whole, it's actually a bounded geometric construct. It's a container built to isolate the absence of elements. This boundary is a finite invention, allowing the human mind to compute reality by carving out a manageable piece of the background. Advaita Vedanta philosophy identifies this as a structural limitation of human cognition. We perceive reality through the lens of categorization, which forces us to translate a boundless expanse into the comprehensible shape of an empty box. Because the empty set relies on this rigid, finite boundary, it lacks the capacity to house the unconditioned infinite. Theological frameworks often define the void through the lens of active withdrawal, rather than passive empty space. Lurianic Kabbalah describes the state prior to creation as the Ein Sof, the boundless, unknowable presence of the divine that fills all existence. For a finite universe to exist, the Ein Sof undergoes Tzimtzum, a mathematical contraction where the infinite withdraws, leaving a conceptual clearing. This dark space allows finite human realities to take shape without being consumed by the surrounding light. Under this model, the void is an active structural mechanism, the deliberate withdrawal of the infinite that creates the very possibility of local, finite life. The Buddhist doctrine of sunyata, or emptiness, approaches this cleared space from a different coordinate. While Western thought often equates emptiness with an abyss of nothingness, sunyata identifies a reality defined by the total absence of independent nature. In this view, no isolated set exists on its own. Every element is defined solely by its relationship to the network. As isolated boundaries dissolve, they reveal a continuous, undulating whole. Stripping away the illusion of separate parts reveals a reality that is full, not empty. This aligns dharmic cosmology with the second persona of arithmetic. The void is infinite. When the limits of the finite set are removed, the resulting emptiness functions as a plenum. We can ground these concepts of withdrawal and fullness in the rigorous topology of non-commutative geometry. The specific mathematical architecture for this is the quotient Boolean algebra, P of n mod fin. This is how the universe manages the relationship between finite subsets and the infinite tail. Viewing the timeline as a sequence of choices, mortal errors manifest as localized red blocks. To reach the eternal continuum, reality applies a quotient map. This scanner ignores finite data, dissolving the blocks into zero, leaving only the unbroken infinite tail. This mathematical filter provides a mechanism for forgiveness within the logic of the system. Evaluating every finite sequence to zero preserves the infinite structure while forgetting local errors. This process of removing the finite to reach the boundless finds its theological equivalent in the via negativa, or apophatic theology. Apophatic theology describes the divine by stripping away every measurable attribute, sharing a structural identity with the Culkin quotient in operator theory. Both systems operate on the principle that the unconditioned cannot be reached by adding attributes, but only by systematically removing every transient, measurable reality. The topology of the divine begins exactly where human experience is quotiented out. Emptiness is the realization that reality is only visible once the finite dimensions have been subtracted. Returning to axiom 0, we can now reconcile the syntax of the map with the semantics of the territory. The empty set captures the void by acting as a 0 point for logic. It is the symbol the human mind uses to point toward an absence of boundaries. While this symbol is a necessary origin for our equations, it remains a product of our finite syntax. It points to the territory without becoming it. Our mathematical map functions as a localized lens. It provides the grid we need to perceive the infinite expanse. The lens allows us to frame a manageable piece of the background, translating the boundless into a form we can compute. The void itself remains the irreducible territory, the eternal background where every finite reality eventually dissolves into the quotient. To navigate the deepest layers of existence, we must use these mathematical maps, but we must keep our eyes on the difference between the geometry of the lens and the limitless territory of the infinite.